All right, I think we're live now. How's everyone doing tonight? I see we already have a couple of people here in the chat. Thanks for joining us, Legacy. I appreciate it. If you guys haven't already, make sure you check out Star Wars Legacy's channel. All right, so how's everyone doing tonight? Can you guys hear me all right? I'm testing out a new headset mic. Hopefully it lessens the echo a little bit. All right, I think we're good to go. We have a couple of Canadians. All right, I sound deeper. I think the new mic's working out, so I think we're good to go. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I know that it's a slow time here for Star Wars, but I think there might be a topic or two that we can think of. All right, perfect. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just throw it out to everyone, maybe just to get the conversation rolling. What's your approach to Rogue One here? Is everyone looking for as much information as possible, or trying to avoid everything or avoid some things? Because I have to say that I'm kind of walking the line between. I try to avoid some things, and I'm not looking for every piece of information that I can get. I have to admit, the first time most of the information that I found out was information that I found today just by doing a little bit of research for this live hangout. Yeah, I agree. Catalyst did basically introduced you to enough information, I think, to enjoy the movie. Okay, so Marshall says he's not avoiding. All right, Julie says avoiding spoilers but curious about Vader's role. Yeah, I don't know. I've done the same thing. I've tried to see if there's anything out there more on Vader, but I haven't been able to find it. I'm actually really interested. That's probably the one piece of information I'm looking forward to the most, is seeing exactly what Vader does. All right, let's start it right off with this first question. Star Wars Legacy asks, thoughts on Catalyst? I thought it was great. Yeah, I agree. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I put it right at the top of my list of the new canon novels. I put that on Twitter. I was greatly in the minority on that opinion. A lot of people had said that they liked, I think it's Lost Stars by Claudia Gray the most, but I thought that Catalyst was an amazing novel. Yeah, Galaxy, I think Galaxy Soda asked, should I read Catalyst before Rogue One? I definitely recommend it. I would say that out of all of the new canon novels, it's the one that I couldn't put down the most. Yeah, yeah, Connor. College has the ability to get in the way of our Star Wars reading, doesn't it? Maybe what I'll do, Billy Bob, I won't give too many spoilers for Catalyst, but there probably will be some spoilers here and there that might leak out. So just be careful. I think the one thing that, yeah, I agree with Big Dogs. Lucino's probably my favorite. Well, I would say there's a lot of great Star Wars authors, but I would have to say that Lucino is my favorite. I think that I might have mentioned this in the last live hangout, but I think that John Jackson Miller is an underrated Star Wars author. Okay, Slim gives his top three: Ahsoka, Life Debt, and Catalyst. Well, that's interesting. I definitely enjoyed all three of those novels, so that's a good top three list. I would probably have to say that mine is probably Catalyst first, and then I would have to say A New Dawn by John Jackson Miller, and then Tarkin by Lucino. So two Lucino novels in my top three. Yet Lucino was the author of Catalyst, Isaac. Yeah, I think one of the main reasons why I enjoyed Catalyst so much was it was a really good depiction of the Empire without the standpoint of your typical characters like Vader, obviously, and the Emperor. I really like seeing the human element of the Empire. It's something that we haven't seen a lot of, and I really like that human element because the way that I had pictured everything, you couldn't have, and I think the point was is really getting pushed forward after Bloodline, and as we get into the new trilogy, you can't have an Empire if it's just the Sith, the two at the top. You need an entire support structure underneath them. And I really liked how Catalyst brought that all together. But then I really enjoyed the whole story of the Urso. So I was a big fan of Catalyst. It's definitely my favorite. Hey guys, I see we have some new people joining. Thanks for joining us here. Welcome to everyone. There was a few questions that I passed. I'm going to scroll up and see if I can find them. Well, that's a really interesting top three there, Riley. Bloodline, Lords of the Sith, and Tarkin. Yeah, I can't really argue with that either. Lords of the Sith was good. Bloodline I thought was good. Probably not my top five, but I enjoyed Bloodline as well. All right, lame name. I think we have to address this question. This is a really good topic to discuss. So lame name says Thrawn hasn't really done anything yet in Rebels. His dialogue is good though. So maybe we'll jump away from Rogue One just to discuss Thrawn here for a second. I don't know. Maybe I'll throw it out. What do you guys think about Thrawn's role in the new season 3 of Rebels? Because I might have an unpopular opinion when it comes to Thrawn. Okay, Legacy says Thrawn is so lame in Rebels so far. Thrawn is brilliant, a mastermind. Definitely can't argue there. I'm from Canada. Assassinated by Callus. That'd be interesting. Very close to the Rebels material. Yeah, I agree, Pyro. It seems like they're building Thrawn up. Here's what I would say about Thrawn, and I think it applies to season 3 of Rebels generally. I just finally caught up in the most recent episode, so I'm looking forward to tonight's episode as well. But nonetheless, on season 3, I think right now I've enjoyed each episode individually. I think each episode has been great, even the ones with, that aren't heavy on the Bendu or Thrawn, the ones with Hondo, for example, the lighter episodes. I've enjoyed each of them individually, but I think the season has suffered a little bit from having a lack of overall arc. And maybe I'm unfairly representing it with season 2, which I thought had an amazing arc with Ahsoka and Darth Vader. I think that season 3 has had very good individual episodes week to week, but I think the overall arc with Thrawn isn't really where it needs to be at this point in the season. The thing with Thrawn too is I'm wondering is he's a military mastermind as well. He's played as more of a detective, I feel, in this season. I want to see more space battles with Thrawn, and not to the point where he's doing gambits. Basically, he's giving up, letting the rebels escape, hoping to ensnare the entire rebellion. So I think I agree with Rose. Rose says season 3 is okay. Yeah, definitely. I have no problem with season 3. I just hope that we get to see a bigger arc with Thrawn and some of the other minor arcs as well, just to see where we're going with Darth Maul and everything, or I guess Maul now, I should say. All right, Darth Mandalore, that's a really good question. Do you think there will be a Rebels cameo in Rogue One? So that's a good question, just based off, I think everyone saw it. If you didn't see it, there was a trailer that came out that had the ghost in it, so the Rebel ship. I watched Star Wars Explains video on it, and I thought he had a really good take. I don't think that we'll see the Rebels crew. I don't think we'll see anyone from Rebels. Yeah, the ghost seems like the ghost is in the trailer. Exactly right. I don't think that we'll see the Rebels crew in the movie, but I did think that it was a really good addition to the trailer. So Galaxy Soda asks, "Do you think Thrawn will die in Rebels?" I don't think so. I don't think so in definitely not in season 3. But I'm hoping that there's a role for Thrawn to play in the Galactic Civil War that's to come. I'm hoping that's the case at least. I think that taking a character like Thrawn out at this point is doing a disservice to such a great character. Hey Jay Cray, will he join the First Order? See, that's a really good question too. That's something I've thought about quite a bit, wondering how they could do that. It might be tough to get Thrawn into the First Order just to have him make it that far out, but that would definitely be something interesting to see. Yeah, I'm with you, Leon. I hope Thrawn gets at least a mention in Rogue One as well. You have to think too, and this is what I really liked about Catalyst, the novel. There's so many moving parts in the upper echelon of the Empire. It's hard to keep track of all of the different, Moffs and everyone who's working on the Death Star and that type of thing. So I'm not sure if we'll see Thrawn in the movie, but I'm hoping that we'll at least hear his name. I'm just going to scroll up and see. There's a number of other Thrawn questions. Okay, you can hear. I hope the audio is all right. I see some people might be having a problem. It should be working though. All right, Star Wars Critic asks, "Remember the Inquisitor? I miss him. What's your opinion on him?" I think if you're referencing the Grand Inquisitor, I thought he was a really good character as well. The Grand Inquisitor, the more I look into just his backstory and everything about the Grand Inquisitor, he even had a brief cameo at the very end of Ahsoka. Even just to get that little bit, everything that I've seen from him has been really, really amazing. I think that was one of the examples of getting rid of a character too soon. Of course, you can't keep everybody in, but I thought that the Grand Inquisitor was a great. Yeah, I agree, Slim. I thought that, I don't know, maybe you guys, what do you think of this? I think that in the novel Ahsoka, when we see the Grand Inquisitor at the end, I think it's really telling. I think it's the sixth brother who's the Inquisitor in Ahsoka. But when we see the Grand Inquisitor at the end, it almost feels like the Grand Inquisitor realizes that he's going to have to get better, just given how easily he was defeated by Ahsoka. So I really like that they've built that into the character, because I know that there is a mention at some point, I think it was in the Rebels first season, it had to have been, where they said that the Grand Inquisitor reads the old files at the Jedi Temple to learn more about the Jedi that he's hunting. I really like that they put it in that he was doing a sort of review of what the Sixth Brother had did in Ahsoka. I really like how they built his character there. I think that there's stories to tell from Order 66 and the Grand Inquisitor's role up until the first season of Rebels. That would be something I think would be really interesting. Stormtrooper guy asks, how do you think he turned to the dark side? I did a video on that, on how the Grand Inquisitor fell to the dark side. But basically, he was one of the Jedi Temple guards who was at the temple when Barriss had bombed the Jedi Temple and with the trial of Ahsoka. And I guess it was Barriss's speech that did him in. I guess he thought that there was truth with Barriss's speech at Ahsoka's trial, and he kind of sided with her, that the Jedi had fallen and kind of got away from what they were intended to do initially. I saw a Plagueis question up here. Okay. Stephen asks, will there be any chance of Plagueis ever getting his time on screen? That's a really interesting question. I can't see it in any of the upcoming movies or even in Rebels, but man, it would be great to have Plagueis on screen. If anyone's read Darth Plagueis by James Luceno, I think that you would agree with me. Yeah, that is a good question. We do need a little bit more information about what happened to Barriss after her attempt to bomb the Jedi Temple. I know in Legends, I believe in Legends, I'm pretty confident I'm remembering it right, that she died in Order 66. But I think there was a bit of controversy in the timeline for that. The character Plagueis is canon, just from his mention in Revenge of the Sith, but unfortunately the novel, and I agree with Big Dogs, another great novel by Luceno, the Darth Plagueis novel isn't canon, unfortunately. Oh, Jamie asked, do you play Star Wars Battlefront? I do. I don't know how well I play it, but I do play Star Wars Battlefront. I haven't been able to play the new downloadable content yet, unfortunately. But if you guys want to play with me, I can give you my gamer tag. It's SWRC for Star Wars Reading Club. So SWRC Gaming. And if you want to add me on there, you guys can have a somewhat decent partner on Battlefront. I play on Xbox One. So Night Rage asks, do you think the Ghost Crew will appear in Rogue One? Is that too much spoilers if we get into that? Stormtrooper guy, yes. SWRC Gaming, all one word. My favorite Star Wars game, that's a good question. It'd have to be the original TIE Fighter. The mid-90s TIE Fighter game. I remember playing that game every day in the summer. So I won't get into. Kumar says, please don't spoil Rogue One. To be quite honest, I don't have too many spoilers myself. I try not to go into each movie knowing too much about the movie beforehand. And actually, I knew very little going into The Force Awakens. I avoided basically everything except the three main trailers. Even the TV spots I would avoid. I would look away. It actually got pretty pretty intense with doing that. But I try not to look at too much. Who do you think will die in Rogue One? I think that's a fair enough question because just to speculate a little bit, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Saw Gerrera die by the end. But also too, I was thinking about it a little bit more, and I thought that there was also maybe a possibility that we get a Lords of the Sith ending. I don't know what you guys think about that. Slim says everybody dies, and basically that's my Lords of the Sith ending. I think a really good ending for the movie. This is the one that I've had play out in my mind the most, where they steal the plans and they get them to Princess Leia, and then we have Darth Vader come in and do what Darth Vader does. Basically, the ending to Lords of the Sith. I think that that would be enough drama at the end. Yeah, I agree, Slim. Lords of the Sith ending is, he says, Lords of the Sith ending is dark and awesome. I definitely agree with that. I'm hoping, Lame Name says, do you think Disney will ever do any Old Republic stuff? I really hope so. I hope that we get to see some material from the Old Republic timeline. Daniel Lee asks, who is Plagueis's master? Plagueis's master was a Bith, and his name was Darth Tenebris. And there's actually a really good backstory there in Legends too with Darth Plagueis and Darth Tenebris. If you want to see more on that, it's in the novel Darth Plagueis by James Luceno, which is a great novel. I always recommend it whenever it comes up. Yeah, Max asks a really good question here. Do you think they will be faithful to the original Old Republic timeline from the EU? If Bane in Clone Wars is any indication, it doesn't look good to me. I agree. I think they'll be, see, with that thinking, I agree with you. I think if Bane's any indication, I do like that they're gonna keep old characters and change their stories a little bit, which is unfortunate, but at least we're still getting the characters. I'm gonna do a Bane video here in the next couple of days. It'll probably be before the end of next weekend. I haven't counted all the ways, but I'm currently reading Path of Destruction, the first novel in the Bane trilogy. So I'm going to do a video on all the ways that Disney is changing Bane from Legends. But that said, I think that if we do get Old Republic material, I think we'll see the characters, but I don't think that that we'll see them in the exact same role or see the same stories. Of course, we won't see the same stories, but we won't see the same types of stories out of them as well. Is Darth Malgus still canon? Because I think Vader had a holocron from him. Huh, that's interesting. I wasn't aware of the holocron part. But everything, it, as I've interpreted it, Darth Malgus is not canon, unfortunately. There was a Has Obit question I'm trying to find. Okay, so Salad asks, do you think Has Obit will make an appearance in Rogue One? I do think he will make an appearance in Rogue One. I was actually surprised to see that we haven't seen more about his character. I would actually really like it if we could get Obit back in. Hey guys, I see that we have some new people joining us here. Thank you everyone again for joining us. I really appreciate it. And thanks again for everyone for all the support on the most recent videos. I really appreciate it. Favorite Sith? Definitely Darth Bane. Oh, I would probably go in this order. I would say Darth Vader first, then Darth Bane, and then Darth Malgus with my top 3 on favorite Sith. I had a dream I saw Rogue One and Darth Maul was in it. That's funny. It seems like Maul's showing back up into everything again, so that might not be too surprising. Star Wars Critic asks, favorite Star Wars book? That would have to be, for the new canon material, it would be Catalyst. So I'm really looking forward to Rogue One because of that. But overall, if we're including Legends novels and canon novels, then it would be Path of Destruction, the first novel in the Bane trilogy. Oh, someone's top 3 Sith is Bane, Revan, and Malgus. That's a really good list as well. So Leon asks, what got you into Star Wars? That's a good question. I saw it first, probably like a lot of you guys did, at a really young age. I would say I was probably about 5 or 6. And I told the story just briefly in the last Hangout last month, but they were my aunt and uncle, my godparents, and they had shown me Star Wars. And right from the beginning, right when at the very start of A New Hope, they had mentioned to me that Luke Skywalker was the son of Darth Vader. So right away, I had that spoiled for me right off the beginning. But I think I was too young at that point to really get it. But then again, I've seen reactions of the videos where people film their young children watching it. So I don't know. But that's basically how I got into it from the beginning. I saw it when I was really young. And then I got brought back in pretty intensely, like I am now, by when the special edition movies came out. Yeah, Falk, that's a good list. Plagueis, Revan, and Vader. Favorite Imperial character aside from Thrawn and Tarkin? That's so funny you say that. Thrawn and Tarkin are both my favorite. I think that I just read the first issue of the new Darth Vader comics, and I'm gonna have to say Cassio Tag is probably one of my favorite Imperial characters. His I'm gonna do a video which includes Tag and his approach after the destruction of the Death Star. But Cassio Tag is up there. I'd probably have to think about it a little bit more. Darth Snake, that's a really good top three Old Republic Sith. Scion, Nihilus, and Malik. Yeah, that's a good list. Zach asks, what's your favorite Star Wars movie? And I think I'm with the majority on this one. I'd have to say Empire Strikes Back for sure. I probably, yeah, Sergeant says, I wish Tarkin didn't die in episode 4. I probably shouldn't ask this. I probably shouldn't spoil it for myself, but does anyone know if Tarkin's going to be in Rogue One? Because I would have to say that Tarkin was probably my favorite part of Catalyst. I think it would be great if Tarkin was in Rogue One. Oh, okay. Legacy asks a really good question. I think if if I understand it right, so I guess Tarkin isn't. Oh, he will be. Okay, he probably is. Yeah, so I'd like to see Tarkin in Rogue One. I think that'd be cool. But Legacy asks, could you name your favorite Star Wars movies in order? Definitely, yeah, I could do this. I've thought about this quite a bit, and let me hear what your orders are as well. But I would have to go. It's so funny because there's such a delineation between the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. But I would go in terms of Star Wars movies, favorite to least favorite. I would go Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope. It's questionable of whether or not I would put The Force Awakens above Return of the Jedi or Revenge of the Sith for that matter. So, okay, here's how I would put my order. I would go Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope, Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith, The Force Awakens, The Phantom Menace, and Attack of the Clones. That would be my order. Okay, this is really interesting. So yeah, I think wow, it's interesting to see a lot of people put Phantom Menace ahead of Attack of the Clones. I think that that's probably the majority opinion at this point. So so Kai says Empire, Force Awakens, Return of the Jedi, New Hope. Yeah, that's pretty close to mine. Is I think Empire Strikes Back's a lot of people's favorites. Phantom Menace above Attack of the Clones. I mean, they're both pretty lousy. That said, I would still put the Phantom Menace quite a bit above Attack of the Clones. Hey, Cazador. So basically, we're trying to put our all of the 7 Star Wars movies in order from favorite to least favorite. So let's take a look at Johnny's here. He says Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope, Revenge of the Sith, Force Awakens, Return of the Jedi, Attack of the Clones. Okay, that's pretty close to mine. Interesting to see how many people have The Force Awakens so high on their list. Wow, gamer, Force Awakens first. I don't like sand. I agree with Connor. Connor says Clones is pretty bad. Phantom had some good stuff. I think as I watch the Phantom Menace, I can appreciate some of the things in there that I hadn't noticed when I watched it all those years ago, but I just can't I just can't appreciate Attack of the Clones. I thought that there was just too much in there. All right, so that's interesting. A lot of people are big fans of The Force Awakens. I was too, I for sure. But I think it would still be below the original trilogy, and then it would be probably a fight between Revenge of the Sith and The Force Awakens for me. Revenge of the Sith is also a movie that I'm appreciating more and more as I watch it. Gamer asks, "Do you like Kylo Ren?" I do like Kylo Ren. I thought that Kylo Ren was at a decent enough spot in the story where I could appreciate him. I think they're going to have a good arc for him. I'm looking forward to what he does in the upcoming two films. Couldn't agree more with Hop here. Phantom Menace had more practicals and miniatures. Max, Revenge of the Sith is my favorite. Have you read the novelization, Max, by Matthew Stover? I'm actually just reading that for the first time now, and I'm pretty blown away with it. What are your thoughts on Rey being a Mary Sue? Yeah, I could go into that quite a bit. I think there's an argument to be made. Yes, of course. The most the most I've heard on that though is just being that she did everything that Luke did without having to go through the trials and tribulations of Luke, but I think that there's some arguments to be made that story-wise everything made sense, and Slim says Ray isn't a Mary Sue, so silly. I think there's arguments to be had on both sides. I'm leaning towards that she wasn't a Mary Sue. I'm hoping that we see things come about in the next two movies that explains it a little bit more for exactly why Ray was able to keep up with Kylo Ren. I'm really hoping we see a Kylo Ren that's very evolved by the next movie, and I think we will. I'm pretty confident for that. Oh yeah, I forgot Darth Destroyer. Very good catch. I didn't think about the Clone Wars movie. To be honest, the Clone Wars movie might be it would be second to the end. It would be before Attack of the Clones. Debatable whether it's before the Phantom Menace. Actually, you know what? It probably goes before the Phantom Menace. Great question by Shane here. If you could play a part in Star Wars, who would you play? 100% Anakin. I mean, you guys saw the Padme scenes, no? But no, I think that Anakin is my favorite character in Star Wars, so I would have to play him. Favorite Sith? Darth Destroyer asks, favorite Sith? And that would be Darth Bane. I gave my top three Sith out at the beginning of the stream, but my three favorite Sith would be Darth Bane, Vader, and Malgus. Those would be my three favorite Sith. Maz Katana or Watto. I'd have to give that one to Maz. Yeah, good question, Legacy. Do we have anyone from, wow, are you from England then, Legacy? Yeah, I guess. Wow, staying up late for this. I appreciate it. Let's do a check-in where everyone is from. I think last time we had a pretty wide range of where everyone was from. Any Canadians, Americans, Europeans? Oh, wow. Okay. Wow, this is great. Minnesota, Moscow. Wow, Moscow. Some Canada, Texas, UK. I was gonna complain about the cold a little bit, but Minnesota and Moscow might have me. Maybe even Wisconsin too. Norway as well. Wow, there's a lot of very interesting. A lot of South America, Brazil, Chile, Tatooine, Michigan. Yeah, it had a couple of Scotlands. Okay, so a lot of UK, Netherlands. That's definitely one place I wouldn't mind going. Portugal. Minus 26. That's got to be Edmonton, I would guess. Or maybe even further north. That's a really good question, Chris, about reviews for the comics. See, I would love to do that. The comics, I've only been able to read the first issue, and I think the way that the way that it works is they put the issues into a volume. I read basically what would amount to the first 5 issues of the new Darth Vader comics, and they do come out month to month. I would actually love to do reviews of the comics, but the only way that I can get them realistically is through my library, just because up here in Canada, you're going to pay probably close to $25 per issue of the comics. So just out of what's realistic, it would probably not work out monetarily just because up here they're so expensive. Oh, so we do have ones from Edmonton. Minus 20. Yeah, that's not surprising. It's funny, it's tough being a Star Wars reading fan up here in Canada. I think the Catalyst novel alone was $40. Good question. Are you seeing Rogue One at midnight? Near me, I haven't been able to find any midnight showings, but there is one at 7 and at 10. And I'm questioning about whether I should go to both of them, but I'm definitely going to go to the 7 o'clock one. Ooh, favorite Star Wars planet? That's a great question. I wouldn't mind throwing that out to everyone. For some reason, I've been a big fan of Utapau, just on the whole look and feel, and $80 in Brazil. Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's always been like that up in Canada. You're just going to pay more. You're going to pay more for everything basically, but especially with books. I actually went to the United States pretty recently, and me and my brother were shocked at just how much cheaper everything was. Just, I mean, we're talking as basic as coffee, going to Starbucks and getting a coffee. Yeah, Ohio seems like it's a nice state. Seaman asks, which do you prefer currently, Legends or new canon? Well, if we're talking just novels, then I would have to say at this point I probably have more Legends novels in my top 5 than I do new canon, but the new canon is catching up pretty quickly. I have a lot of confidence in that new Thrawn novel, and I have a lot of confidence in the Empire's End. Favorite ship in all eras? Something about the Imperial 2 class Star Destroyer. I don't know, I've always liked that one the most. Joel Davis, that's a really good question. What would you like to see the next Star Wars animated series be about? Hmm, that's a really good question. I would like to see it go back a little bit further. I was thinking about this the other day. I wouldn't I would actually like to see a new canon novel set in the Clone Wars era. But even, I mean, we've been talking quite a bit about the Old Republic. To get something in the Old Republic, I don't even, the animated series might not be the best because I probably have it in my mind that there's going to be that live action Old Republic TV series, but animated or not, I would probably give anything to see some Old Republic. Yeah, I'm with you, Jet. I would definitely like to see some Old Republic, just even to make any of that, bring any of that material into the new canon. Oh, there's so many great questions. So Dale asked, do you think Darth Vader will see some action in Rogue One? I'm really hoping that we do. And when I'm thinking Darth Vader action, I'm thinking Lords of the Sith Darth Vader, Darth Vader comic, Darth Vader, not necessarily a New Hope action Darth Vader. Ooh, favorite lightsaber. That's a tough question. Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about the favorite lightsaber. For some reason, when I did the video on Sifo Dyas, what happened to his lightsaber, I really liked his lightsaber for some reason. Mara Jade's purple is good. Same with Mace's. Oh, here's a good question. Will Vader kill Krennic? I'm interested to see what you guys think on this as well. Me personally, I think Krennic does die. I'm just wondering if it's by Vader, and I do hope that it's by Vader. Vader slow. Yeah, I think there's going to be a few Vader force chokes by the end of the movie. I thought that it was I thought it was really cool. Gabriel asked, "What do you think of the ghost ship appearing in the Rogue One trailer?" I thought it was really cool. Just assuming that it was the ghost ship. I mean, it's hard to put that ship in and not assume that it's the ghost. I like that they do things like that. Krennic by force choke would probably be my favorite way for him to go. If I had to choose between force choke or saber, I would probably force choke would probably be more badass. But that said, it does seem that Vader Vader has an execution style, for example, that we saw in Lords of the Sith, where he would execute people with his saber. So that might play. It would be interesting to see how that played out on screen as well. Yeah. Apology accepted, Director Krennic. Perfect. Yep, very true. Stormtrooper says everyone forgets about the Hammerhead class Corvettes in the trailers. And it's so funny too because I tried to avoid the trailers to some extent. And that one I only saw after watching Star Wars Explains his video, and he had mentioned the Hammerhead class Corvettes. So that would tie it into the Ghost crew even more. So yeah, it would be interesting if we get. I'm kind of hoping we don't get the crew in the movie, but just to know that it's their ship is good enough for me. So everyone who's hoping that Krennic dies, did you guys read Catalyst or? Exactly. I think just like Dale says, it would be awesome if Hera calls in. So even if we just got Hera calling in, that would be enough. I wouldn't want to see more than that, to be honest. It would take me out of it a little bit. Sultan asks, is there a Star Wars movie next week? That's the rumor that there is. Oh, The Altar of Madness. I'm 9 hours into the 11-hour Catalyst audio. How's the audiobook for Catalyst? That actually might be really interesting to listen to. Oh, so it is Ben voicing over the Catalyst novel for the audiobook? Yeah, if you're on the fence about reading Catalyst, I would definitely recommend it. It did have a different feel. I mean, you don't get, oh, I won't spoil it too much, but it is a different feel. I really enjoyed it. It's my favorite of the new canon novels. Okay, so it's not Ben doing the Jonathan Davis. Catalyst was maybe not 10 out of 10, but it was close. I really enjoy Lucino's writing style. He's really a detailed guy. He likes to put a lot of detail into his novels, and I appreciate that. Yeah, Sith Lord Cookie says it beats the life debt. Yeah, I'd put Catalyst above life debt. Sergeant asks a good question. I wonder if you guys agree with me. Favorite Star Wars death? What about the Grand Inquisitor? There's something about that Grand Inquisitor death that I always look at and think, boy, they got that right. Filoni earned his title as the God Emperor on that one. That was probably my favorite death. Yeah, I hear a lot. Neil brings up a good point. Lost Stars is the best new canon book. I've heard that quite a bit, more than any other novel, in fact. That Lost Stars, if I'm not mistaken, Lost Stars is Claudia Gray as well. Yeah, see, everyone who I've seen read Lost Stars has said that it was a great novel. Yeah, I see some. So Goddess says, I don't really understand the Grand Inquisitor's death. Yeah, it was kind of different, wasn't it? But there is that just approach to the honor that he had. And yeah, and see, Connor, was the Inquisitor referring to Vader when he died? That's the way I interpreted it. It kind of makes them both out a little bit more of a badass, in my opinion. You just wonder, well, what's in it for the Grand Inquisitor if he's willing to let himself fall at that point? That's a really good quote. There are some things far worse than death. So Andre asked, do you think they will mention Thrawn in Rogue One? I don't, unfortunately. I hope they do, but I don't think that we'll get to see it. All right, thanks for stopping by, Stormtrooper. Have a good night. Okay, so Money Me says, I can't wait to see Darth Vader without his suit on in the Bacta tank in Star Wars Rogue One. Yeah, I have to admit, I haven't looked too much into the whole Bacta tank yet. It's something that I didn't want to spoil for myself, so I don't really have a good explanation for who's in there. If it's Vader, that will be interesting. I also thought, and maybe I saw this just on a comment that somebody had said, that there's the potential that it was holding a Kyber crystal. I'm not sure. But either way, that is one of the things that I'm looking forward to. Yeah, it's up in the air whether or not it's Vader at this point. I do play Battlefront. I previously mentioned it, but if you guys want to join me on Battlefront, my gamer tag is SWRC for Star Wars Reading Club. So SWRC Gaming, all one word. Yeah, I think that if it's Vader in there, it's a little bit too easy. That's a good question. Is the Star Wars The Old Republic Deceived any good? I really enjoyed that novel. I thought that that was a great novel. Yeah, I agree with Goddess. Deceived is good. It put it put Darth Malgus in my top 3 Sith, so I thought that's how much I enjoyed it. And really technically it was the motivation for the channel with that first video. I thought that Darth Malgus was a great character. Can anyone remember who wrote Deceived? Was that Paul Kemp? I think that was Paul S. Kemp who wrote Deceived. And actually it would make a lot of sense given the endings of Deceived and the ending of Lords of the Sith. I John asked, "Do you think Thrawn will die in season three?" I don't, and I'm really hoping at this point, just seeing what we got at this point from Thrawn, I'm really hoping that he lives at least past season three. I think that that would be much too early for Thrawn to bow out. Oh, my my Battlefront name, I think somebody's asking. That's just SWRC stands for Star Wars Reading Club. SWRC Gaming, all one word. Galaxy Soda. I I don't think I'm gonna at this point I'm not gonna I don't think we should discuss ever that 52 book challenge, which means no, I didn't finish it. There was good intentions there though with that challenge. Zachary asks a non-Star Wars question. Mr. Thrawn, do you have an opinion on Lord of the Rings? I'm a big fan of Lord of the Rings. I think that's a excellent novel trilogy and film trilogy. So at what point in the timeline do you think Rebels will end? I think that that's a good question. I think that that's probably going to be I mean, you're probably not too far off with the Rogue One timeline. I could see it in or about that time period, a few months before, because I don't think they'll do a crossover where they get to A New Hope. And in fact, I think I've seen Filoni state as much. So I don't think that. I think we're looking at with Rebels ending probably a few months before Rogue One. Yeah, I think the beginning of Rogue One is probably the most realistic. How many seasons do you think Rebels will have? I think I think it would work if they had probably the same amount as the Clone Wars. I think 5 or 6 would be the best. So Gabriel asked, do you think Disney will continue to canonize more characters from the Old Republic like Revan? I do think so. In fact, I know that they had attempted to bring Revan into the Clone Wars TV series and actually to bring him in with Bane, and it wasn't Bane like we saw him in season 6. It was the Bane that we would recognize with um, the Orbalisk armor. So I do think that we will see more characters like Revan. It's just a question on how they're gonna bring them in, and that's the tricky part. Yep, you have the gamer tag exactly right there. SWRC Gaming. Yep, that's exactly right. I do think that with Snoke being Bane, I mean, if we're talking realistic, then probably not. But I do think that is at least an interesting theory. That was one of the first Snoke theories that came to my mind. That was probably a lot of people went Darth Plagueis. My mind went to Darth Bane. But if we're talking how realistic that would be, then probably not very realistic. Davis asks, why does everyone like Bane? Isn't he just some pissed off miner? Well, he's definitely the latter. But for me, I've liked Bane just because it brought a lot of depth to the Sith. Instead of just seeing the Sith in the movies you're not really sure of what the motivation of Darth Sidious is, and even Dooku or Darth Maul. But with Darth Bane, you really got a really good explanation as to why the Sith are first wanting to take over the galaxy, and then two, their reason and the way they went about it was amazing. Karpyshyn did a great job with that trilogy for sure. So Han Solo asked, do you think Ahsoka is still alive? I'm going to go with my initial gut feeling right after that episode, and I'm going to say no. I know a lot of people do think that she is alive just based on what we saw at the end of that episode with her walking away. But my initial, right from the beginning, I thought if they did duel in Rebels, and then just the way that it played out, I don't think that she's alive. Slim says, Ahsoka is not dead. I won't believe it. Yeah, it's definitely not the easy opinion, but I think the way that it played out, I think that she didn't survive the duel or the explosion, either or. Yeah, Network says she'll be a Force ghost. That's the way I'm leaning, potentially. I did do that video about whether she could, if there was the possibility for her to return as a Force ghost. It is possible, but just looking at what Dave Filoni said at Celebration as well, it does seem to indicate that do not question the God Emperor Filoni. But just what Filoni said at Celebration, I think that there's at least a possibility that she does return as a Force ghost. John says, do you think any of the Ghost crew will die this season? That's a really good question. I don't think that we'll see it, but I mean, if you had any other traditional non-Disney, non-Star Wars shows, then I think that it probably would be time for one of them to die, and it would probably be Zeb. Sebastian asks, chances of Thrawn surviving Rebels and potentially surviving the fall of the Empire. I think it's greater than 50-50. I could see Thrawn. I think him surviving Rebels is very high. I think that would be a 90%er. And then surviving the fall of the Empire, I think it's probably close to 50-50 at this point. Just my guess. I really hope they don't. I mean, if they kill Thrawn off in season 3, that'll be very disappointing. But I think there's lots of stories you could tell with Thrawn. So maybe I'll just throw this out there. Is there anyone, or let's put it like this: who's going to see Rogue One by the end of its opening weekend? Is everyone planning to see it opening weekend? Hey, JWZ. Welcome to everyone who has joined. We have a lot of new people here, I see. But yeah, is everyone planning on seeing it opening weekend? Yeah, so the vast majority. I'm with you guys. Oh, Slim, you got 2, Friday and Saturday. Yeah, I haven't decided if I'm going to see it twice. I might see it. I was planning on potentially seeing it twice on opening night at the 7 o'clock showing and the 10 o'clock showing. Thursday at 8. Yeah, I'm definitely a Thursday. Yeah, Richard says midnight for me. Unfortunately, they didn't have any midnight showings where I am. The latest was 10. Yeah, I was gonna do. Yeah, I was gonna try to do the back to back on opening night. Yeah, Sebastian says he saw The Force Awakens 3 times, 3 more times, so 4 times. I know a lot of people who saw it multiple times. That's a great question there, Mountain. Will Rogue One be better than The Force Awakens? I think in a lot of ways it has the potential to be more interesting and perhaps even better. Yeah, I have high expectations with Rogue One now. After reading Catalyst and just seeing some of the trailers, I think there is a strong potential that it's going to be really good. Yeah, see, I think even just from there's a lot of potential with the story stealing the plans to the Death Star, but I think the way that the cinematography is going to be and just all the cool scenes that we'll have, and just we've seen pieces of them with some of the trailers. It just looks like it's going to be really cool. Will there be a live review after I see Rogue One? For sure. I'll have to do a live review at some point just so that we can talk about it. Oh, Dylan says that I sound different from the videos. That just might be that because I'm using a different mic. The room that I'm in now echoes quite a bit, so I'm using a headset microphone instead of the normal microphone. So Gravel asks, "Are you friends with Star Wars Theory?" I don't know Star Wars Theory. Unfortunately, he seems like he knows quite a bit of Star Wars as well. He'd be fun to talk to for sure. So I think what I'm going to do, guys, I think I'm going to do a few more questions. But before I head off here, because I'm hesitant to leave while we still have 160 people here, maybe I'll just throw out a predictions question. Nothing with too much spoilers, but how many people here think that Krennic? Actually, let's start with this one. How many people here think that Jin and the entire her crew, is going to die by the end of Rogue One? Thanks, Legacy. That means a lot. Yeah, I appreciate that. Okay, so wow, that's interesting. It seems like it's 50-50. What about maybe I'll make it even more specific. How many people think Jin won't make it to the end of the movie? How many people think that she gets caught and either Vader or somebody else? I'm probably I think there'll be one or two survivors, but I think the main question really is whether or not Jin will live. Wow, that's really interesting. So it's close to 50-50, I would say. Now, does it change anyone's opinion to know that in Catalyst, it was revealed that Jin did gymnastics and calisthenics at a really young age. Does that change anything? Me personally, I think Jin will die. Yeah, I think Falk has hit it on the head. It'll be a dramatic death if she does. All right, so that's really interesting. Now here's the last question that I'm interested in. How many people think we're going to see something really spectacular out of Darth Vader? And I'm not not so much one or two scenes and he's more of just an intimidating figure on the screen. Who thinks that we're going to get a badass Vader in this one? Yeah, I'd be really disappointed if it was just one scene with Vader. Yeah, I'm worried that I think his one really awesome scene would definitely make a difference. Yeah, that's a really good quote there, Legacy. I'm hoping that we see something pretty interesting from Vader. And right, if Lone Bomb, if it's the climax, it would be nice to get Vader in the climax of the movie. But I do think that it is 50-50. I don't think we'll see a Lords of the Sith Darth Vader jumping out of a TIE fighter and jumping onto another ship or anything like that. But I would like to see something pretty cool from Vader. Yeah, that's a good quote from Maudie there, Legacy. That's interesting. Yeah, me personally, I don't know if you guys were. I started out with this question, but me personally, I've erred on the side of not looking for too many scenes going into Rogue One. I don't know if you guys did the same thing, but I remember ruining all pretty much most of the prequel movies from knowing too much going in, especially Attack of the Clones. So I've been sitting back and just watching the trailers and seeing what the a little bit of information as it leaks out. So I'm really looking forward to. I don't know too much going into it. I do think that Rogue One's going to be good. Yeah, I have pretty high hopes going in. I think that there's a possibility that it's better than The Force Awakens for sure. Yeah, Slim, that Save the Rebellion, Save the Dream. Pretty much in my mind guarantees that I don't think Saw's going to see the end of the movie. If I could see, that's a good question. If I could see one thing in Rogue One, if I had one wish, it would probably just be a really cool Vader scene, which I know the movie is not about. It's not a movie about Darth Vader. It would either be a cool Vader scene just to get Darth Vader back on the screen, and it would probably be Tarkin in some scenes. Yeah, Rose Vader jumping off a TIE fighter. That's pretty much what you got from Lords of the Sith. There is a scene that's very close to that. I'm not going to spoil it whether or not Bale's in the movie, just because I've been avoiding things so strongly that I just figured out the answer to that question myself only in the last couple of days. Yeah, Ken brings up a good point. 4 minutes till Rebels, and I think this is going to be a really good episode of Rebels. But I think the last, I'll get a couple more questions in here. Just some quick ones. Boris asks, when will we see your face? Probably won't be in the next coming months, but I am going to Celebration, and that's in April. And I plan on doing a few things just surrounding Celebration, so you'll see it before April for sure. Wow, one in Scotland. I appreciate you sticking around here, Galaxy. It's late. It's 8:30 at night where I am. Will Callus die saving the Ghost Crew? I think so. I'm hesitant to believe if Callus is even Fulcrum. I don't know. Something struck me weird about whether or not Agent Callus is truly Fulcrum. Wow, really interesting how many Europeans are here. I'm going to have to pick a more European friendly time next time. Probably in the afternoon for me, so it's not too late for you guys. I appreciate you guys sticking around. That's awesome. Uh, all right, good night, Neil. I appreciate you coming. Yeah, I think the Fulcrum Thrawn ruse, I think there might be something there as well. That's where my mind started traveling down. I'm usually on Xbox. It's usually night around my time, so basically in or about this time usually. Thanks, Boris. I appreciate that. All right, thanks, Julie. I appreciate you stopping in. If I don't talk to you guys before Rogue One comes out, I hope you guys enjoy it. I think what I'll do now is I'll end there. I'll let you guys go watch Star Wars Rebels. Should be a good episode. I think it's called something in Visions, Voices and Visions. I think it's called, but it looks like it's going to be pretty good. And I think it's basically what they do with The Walking Dead, where they have a half season finale here and then take a couple of weeks off. So I just want to say thank you very much to everyone for stopping in, and also too, thanks for all the support on the recent videos. I really appreciate it. I've been trying to put more videos out, and if you guys enjoy them, then again, it really helps me to keep going. So I appreciate all the support, and I'm very happy that you guys are enjoying them. And thanks for coming into this Rogue One predictions and discussion. Again, we didn't talk just Rogue One, but I think everyone's really excited for it, and I definitely am too. Yep, definitely, Dr. Strangelove. If I do another one of these, I'll make sure that I announce it ahead of time. All right, guys, so I think we'll stop there. Enjoy the Rebels episode tonight if you're able to see it. And also, too, if I can't talk to you guys before Thursday, then definitely enjoy Rogue One. I look forward to talking to you guys about it after. But have a great night, everyone. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye for now.